Welcome to Stay Paid, your number one sales and marketing podcast on a mission to help you close more deals, keep more clients, and build the life of freedom you're working towards. That can only happen if you're willing to take action today. My name is Josh Dyke, Chief Marketing Officer here at Reminder Media, joined as always by Luke Acree, President of Reminder Media. And our guest today is Rajeev Sajja. Rajeev is the Chief AI Officer at BrightMLS, where he leads the company's strategy to become an AI native enterprise and data platform to deliver smarter, more efficient tools for real estate professionals. A two-time RIS Media Real Estate Newsmaker Futurist and 2025 Crusader, Rajeev is also the host of the weekly podcast Real Estate AI Flash, where he breaks down how agents and brokerages can actually use AI in their businesses. Rajeev, welcome to Stay Paid. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me, guys. I figured I made it to the podcast world if I'm on the Stay Paid podcast, so I'm thrilled to be here.
Fellow podcast vet here.
Yes, I love it. That's how we like to think of our podcast too. I don't know if it's true, but that's how we like to think about it. But hey, man, super excited to have you on the show. It's a real treat today for the audience listening because AI is obviously everywhere. It's you can't turn on a show these days without hearing about it or listen to the news or anything. And you really have gone all in. Not only like learning about AI and being immersed in it yourself, but really teaching agents how to use AI. So hopefully we can get real practical here on the show. I would love for you to give, though, the 30,000 foot view, like what led you into, really immersing yourself in AI and wanting to bring your own podcast to agents to teach them how to use it. What led you into that?
It's interesting, when AI, most of us got used to AI or aware of it when ChatGPT first launched, like November 2022, Thanksgiving timeframe, which is crazy that you'd launch a product on a Thanksgiving weekend.
It's insane.
But they did, I think little did they know that they were going to go to 100 million in 60 days, right? So I dug in that weekend because of a tech friend that was home for dinner. And I spent like 3-4 hours that weekend and just imagine ChatGPT 3.5. We're like at 5.2 at the time of this recording. Even that I could see, that was just text to text. There was no text to images. There was no text to code. None of that stuff was going on. And I could see where they were headed with it. And I said, this is like a transformative moment. I recognized it early, like many of us did. Some of us did, some didn't. It doesn't matter where you are in that recognition, but and then I sent an email to all our agents where I was working with Berkshire Hathaway, Fox, and Roche at the time. That Monday morning, I think you need to set up an account and start to experiment with, at the time, low-hanging fruit listing descriptions. And quickly we found out it was going off the rails. It didn't know fair housing. So you got to kind of get educated with all of the stuff that
I do remember
that. Teach people, right? It's like, it went off the rails for sure. And that was December 2022, and 2023 early, they came out with the paid version, the plus version, like in March-ish timeframe. And then they had plugins that then became chat. So 23 was a real dig in, learn for myself year. And then I started doing webinars, and this was changing. As you guys know, it changes like daily now.
It's crazy.
Literally, right? It's crazy. You can't keep up, even if we're in it. And then Jan of 2024, I realized I got to come up with a platform where we can actually interview people, share, make the overwhelming less overwhelming. And that's when I launched the podcast, and we're like at episode 110 as of this week. So weekly podcast, Real Estate AI Flash. And it was just a framework for me to sort of dig in. And I think I was fortunate to be at the crossroads to actually interview people. So I was the one learning the most because I was interviewing the practitioners. And I continue to do that as well. So
it really is a great podcast. So everybody go check it out because it's very, very practical. And like Josh and I started Stay Paid as a way to try to give actionable tips, which is what I appreciate about your podcast is like, it's easy to sit and talk about what the world's going to be and how AI is going to change everything. It's a lot harder than then to take it into the day to day. I'm just curious, as you think back on your 100+ episodes, and you think just most recently even, where do you see some strong use cases for real estate agents in their day-to-day right now? Listing descriptions is an obvious one of like using it to write the listing descriptions, but what are some others that you're seeing?
So a good way, most agents, we all have limited time, right? We can't invest time in everything that we want to do. And I always talk about, as an agent, if you're listening to this, look at your time sucks that happen in your day that are required. Like I call it repetitive tasks, things that you do. For example, you're going on listing appointments. So that takes you a couple of hours to prep. So I've built a custom GPT to shrink the time for a listing appointment. So think of things you're doing that successful agents do, repetitive, time consuming, right? That's the other one. Because if it's repetitive, but it's not, it only takes you 5 minutes to do it, it's probably not worth AI's effort. But if it's going to take you 30, 40, an hour to do, you can probably shrink that, right? And then data heavy. Think of areas that you download MLS data and you need to slice and dice it. AI is great at dissecting data and giving you actionable insights. So look at your day, look at your week as to how you sort of use time and where you feel like you're doing manual work, repetitive work, time intensive work, and then start to ingest it. Listing descriptions, as you know, guys, that was where everybody started. Everybody did at least one listing description in ChatGPT, and then you start to evolve. How about going into a listing appointment knowing more about the home than the homeowner themselves? Right? Like market intelligence about the home. So there's things you can do there that AI, and again, it's rinse and repeat because it's just the property address changes, but the prompt doesn't change. And we'll put a link to all this stuff in the show notes. I'll send it to you.
That'd be awesome.
Custom GPTs. Listing appointment one is there. Then there's a listing description creator. As we talked about listing descriptions, that's evolved too. With Zillow being in ChatGPT now, Redfin just launched inside of ChatGPT as an app, right? So how you write your listing description beyond the AI mediocrity, and we can get into the level of, the quality of output from AI. But I think you need to write it in a way that AI search engines can discover the listing in the context of how people are using AI search, right? And that's changed too. It's no longer beds, bats. It's more like beds, bats in Bluebell, Pennsylvania, near an elementary school, right? I mean, that's the kind of searches people are doing. And your descriptions need to be written in a way that AI can find it.
Yeah, that's such a great point of writing your listing description almost in the Q&A type format of thinking, what question is my buyer typing in or asking? And does my listing description answer those questions? Because essentially, obviously, the AI is scraping that listing description and is going to use that as its way to suggest your listing up to whatever the question that was asked. That's really, really good. Have you seen, kind of the effects always when it comes to stuff like AI? It's like blogs right now. Everybody is using AI to write their blogs, and you can start to tell a little bit, but in some degrees you can't tell. Do you think like listing descriptions from a value standpoint, like quality wise, like how do you control the quality of the listing description? Have you run into where it's like every description now is written? I was at, I think, Explosion, we were just talking about, and one agent was making a joke saying you can immediately tell the listing description that's written by AI versus one that's not. And I'm just curious if you're seeing throughout the agent network a problem with agents using AI to write all their blog content, write all their listing descriptions, and it's actually going to hurt them because it's going to be apparent to the consumer. What your thought is there?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. And I think that's where, we can detect AI content now. I mean, we live in this world, some of us, and when we look at it, we get an email with emoji central and you have all the M dashes. So I think it's really goes to people that are not learning how to prompt AI well. The best use of AI is when nobody knows you're using AI.
Agree.
That's when you've sort of mastered the use, which is your tone, your writing style, all of those things. And I think having a good prompt framework, prompting is becoming obviously table stakes now, but how you prompt AI, and I give this analogy, and you guys will relate to this. All of us have some of us have new iPhones. I don't know what phones you have, but I got like the 14. I don't have the latest and greatest. My kids have the latest and greatest. But there's people that are using the latest and greatest technology, but they don't know how to do a video on their iPhone, like a really good reel. So I think technology is being democratized, if you will. It's the skill is where you're going to separate yourself. How do you leverage AI on top of that? And I think prompting, and I teach, there's several prompt frameworks that work. I've sort of gravitated to something called 4P and RISE, which is prime, prompt, polish, and publish are the 4 Ps. And then prime is the most important, which is role, input, steps, and expectations. So you give it a role. So if you're writing something, you give it a role like act as an experienced copywriter specialized in the real estate industry. That's a role. And most people that are listening to the pod may not realize you should have AI interview you before it creates anything.
That's a great.
Don't just ask. Don't just use it as Google. That's a good place to start. But ask AI to interview you. Like I was writing, for example, I was, you guys will appreciate Josh and Luke. You do a few keynotes here and there, so you'll appreciate this. I recorded my entire keynote, one of the keynotes I did, and I uploaded it to chat. And I said, I need you to coach me, give it a grade. Here's the audience I spoke to, give it a grade. And so it gave it 7.5 out of 10. So I wasn't too upset. But there was still room to grow. We all have room to grow, right? So I actually asked it to interview me and ask me one question at a time, up to like 10, to really understand my ask and then come back to me with recommendations. So use AI as a sparring partner is a good analogy.
Yeah, it's great.
As a second brain, don't just take even if it spits out really good, and we're all impressed with AIs because it likes to please us. And when it spits out stuff, push it hard. When you push it hard, you get better outputs.
Yeah.
Right? Question everything.
Yeah. I found that doing the voice also, like if you record, because I don't. 100%. Sometimes when I sit down, I start to write. Your personality doesn't always come through the fingertips. So like I'll actually like record me talking about something and then using that as a way for the AI to actually write more in your voice. Yeah. What's the biggest?
That's a good call out. Yeah.
What's the biggest misconception that you think agents have right now about AI?
I think the biggest misconception is majority of people listening have tried AI a couple of times. They weren't impressed with the output because it was AI mediocrity, and they just walked away. And that's just like saying, I want to use the phone once for a video. Habits, once you build skills, you get good over time.
Yep.
And AI is I don't know of a technology in our lifetime that is getting monumentally better every few weeks compared to AI. What I did with Claude Code over the weekend with Opus 4.6, which we don't want to get geeky here, but it is astronomical. And I can believe how our roles change, our jobs will change, and what we create changes and gets better over time. So if you've used AI in 2023, it is something, you're on another planet in 2026.
Yeah.
In terms of, right? And you guys know this too. So,
well, it's so interesting to basically verify what you're saying too. Is we have a dev team. We probably have 15, 17 coders, something like that. Yep. And it has been wild interacting with them in the past 3 weeks since this latest update with Claude. And just, you can see like all of them that were like, yeah, it's a great tool. And, they were almost like a little bit like, okay, it's not as good as people think.
Work. All right.
They have all shifted to where they now believe, and I'm not exaggerating here at all. It's like they believe they won't be coding anymore. Like they are all looking at it going, they're already saying, I don't write much code anymore. That Claude is writing the code for them and they are reviewing it. They are defining architecture. They are helping direct it. We're just trying to get our organization to a point where we can send our tickets through Jira, which is how we track our tickets, to an AI bot to have it work the ticket, and then a test bot actually code the ticket. It is really kind of crazy. Does it scare you a little bit of like shift wise, Rajeev? Like how are you processing? Because you have to lead like BrightMLS through how do we think about AI in the MLS data? Like give us some insight into kind of where your brain goes there.
So this insights is just 2 weeks old since I've just started 2 weeks ago, but I have a lot of thoughts on this. So, it's interesting, right? So clearly the technology is transforming our work, to your point, with Claude for coding and several areas. But, a big piece here is, and agents are listening to this, maybe brokers are listening to this podcast. Bright has 160 employees, right? So one of the things we started there first was we did a comprehensive AI readiness survey with each department. How much are you using? What are you using it for? What are the big gotchas? What concerns you have? What opportunities? So it's in motion right now. So it's as much people transformation Luke, to your question, as much as the tech transformation. And I think tech is going so fast that if you run too fast, you're going to lose people, right? Number one. So I think that's number one. The second part is, to your point, I've heard Dario Amodei, the guy who is a co-founder of Anthropic, say that in 6 to 12 months, we will not have developers coding at all, right? And you believe that. I mean, we're starting to see signals on that.
I see it. Yeah.
Yeah. So the question becomes, how does a role evolve? So we all will become managers of AI. Okay. I think that's really where it's headed. Some organizations are going to get there sooner. So what we're looking at is each product line, each functional group, like testing and QA, new products, compliance and policy, accuracy. I can see AI agents, like I can see in 2 to 3 years, Bright having 3 times the physical employees as much as we have digital workers, as I call it, or AI agents running in each department that will clearly help us do work faster, number one, but also produce better outcomes with product speed and accuracy while not losing trust of the subscribers, right? So that's the key. So that's really how we're sort of embarking on transformation.
Yeah,
making it AI native.
Love that. Do you see like search for like these portals, right? And like the MLS, right? Do you see it going to a guided search experience with AI, call it an avatar or it's voice search? Do you see that taking place, and or do you have that on your radar? Because I hear, obviously I think Real Scout just came out with at the Inman, kind of a guided AI search. And I just talked to the guys at Constellation One, right, where they are working on something very similar. So it's like, I feel like, there's a lot of behind the scenes happening right now where people are saying search and actually typing in, is going to go away, and it's going to be like voice and like an avatar you talk to. You see it similarly?
Oh, 100%. I think we're already seeing signs of that. I've had access to the Real Scout search, and they did an excellent job per se. But I do think that, one of the things we were talking about the other day when I was on my podcast about audio computing, to Luke's point, about talking to AI, I think AI will revolutionize how we interact with our computers, in terms of to get work done, right? Like I also use you might get a kick out of this. You might have heard of WhisperFlow. Have you heard of WhisperFlow?
I have not.
Just recently. Yeah.
So WhisperFlow.ai so our mind thinks much faster than we type. It just is a fact. Mm-hmm. I type 50 words a minute is my typing range speed, but I speak 200 words a minute. I mean, mine speaks 200 words a minute. So what I've done is WhisperFlow currently it works on any app, but it installs on your Mac, iPhone. So literally, I hardly type now, right? I basically press a button and I just talk, and it corrects my things. It basically fills it in. I just hit enter.
Okay, I need this. I'm literally Googling this as you were talking. And
it is probably the best tool in the last 4 months. It has transformed how productive I've become in getting stuff done on my computer and on my phone as well. So, and we can put a link in the show notes. I'll send it to you. There's like a 14-day free trial you can get. But what I love about that is, like I started typing this morning as an example. Send an email to Larry. Not Friday, Thursday. Like I'm describing something, and it does the edits. You don't have to go backspace when you correct something. It just actually fills it in with the corrected one. So it has AI built in at that level.
Yeah, that's
so
crazy.
You're not like backspacing, typing, correcting, things like that. And to Luke's point from earlier, I think audio computing will drive adoption of every technology that we've struggled to adopt, like CRMs. Think about it. I don't need to know a CRM. I just need to talk to it.
Yeah, people aren't going to use platforms anymore. Like, meaning they're not going to log in.
Yeah.
And like UI interfaces, they're going to exist, but they're going to be so different. It's going to be just like a in product showing. Like, here's what you got, type idea. Like I've been telling our tech team, stop worrying about the platform. in terms of people logging in. Let's start worrying way more about getting to, they tell the AI, their AI tells our AI what they want, and it goes off and does it based upon the data, because that's what it's going to be.
AI is the new UI.
Yeah.
You know?
It's so. What about, can we talk a little bit about, I want to pick your brain selfishly on like this AI search optimization. And I don't know if you have any thoughts on like AIO or however they're referring it to, their search engine optimization, but we all want to show up within AI as businesses. What are you seeing, and what are the best things that you've seen from agents on trying to show up within AI as recommended?
So this is the hot topic right now for Q1 and Q2 of 2026, because search is really propagating with people searching on AI. And 1000 Watt just came out with research. I don't know if you've seen this for their members. I'll share two key takeaways from it, which I think is important for agents listening to this. So they interviewed, credit to 1000 Watt, they're great people, do great research in the industry. And they interviewed 1,500 buyers and sellers as to how they use AI. Okay. First question, one of the key questions was, did you use AI? And when we're talking AI, it's generative AI, ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, etc. Did you use AI to find and evaluate an agent? 61% said yes.
Wow. Get out of here.
Okay. And this survey was done, according to Brian Bayero, November last year.
Yeah,
so
that's
it's like
scary.
Late 2025. So it's probably a little bit higher now. So let's take 61%. The next question they asked, which is fascinating, was out of the 61% that actually used AI, I'm just pulling this up so I don't misquote them. Okay. Was the AI chatbot helpful to you in finding or evaluating real estate agents? 46% said yes, very much so. 51% said yes, somewhat. So 97% find somewhat value or very valuable. So this ship is sailing
Rajeev,
already.
how do I show up? Like,
Let's just talk about how you show up. So, and I think the important part is your consumers now don't just have a buyer agent and a seller agent. They have a digital agent available to them 24/7.
Yeah, that's
and they're
so
verifying
true.
and validating everything you're saying. Okay. So you better bring your A game if you're listening to this. Okay. It is time. So let's talk a little bit about generative. GEO is probably the most common one, Generative Engine Optimization, AI search. So I look at it two ways. One is, first, you got to optimize your bio, the signals that are cookie crumbs on the web, like your website, Google My Business profile, Zillow, Homes, everywhere you have a bio and a profile. And some sites you need to create a bio, like Fast Expert and HomeLight. If you just go do a search of show me the top 5 real estate agents in Bluebell, Pennsylvania that sell luxury homes, see the links that show up, you'll know where they're finding the sources. So one of the things, and we'll put this in the show notes to help the audience, guys, is I built a agent bio optimizer GPT, custom GPT in ChatGPT. You can simply get interviewed.
Oh, that's awesome.
And it will give you all of the, I mean, I've talked to agents that have 100 reviews on Google My Business, but they don't know there's a profile, 750 characters or less, you can write that sends signals to AI. So this GPT really gives you the ammunition to get interviewed and copy and paste it across the board on your profile. So the signals, as we call it, NAP, name, address, phone number, needs to be consistent. So these are SEO timeless best practices that still are valid. So bio optimization, in my mind, is a foundation. To the next point, Luke, you brought this up, is blogging and people writing about content. That also, I think, is coming back, but I think quality will trump quantity over time. I don't think you should crank out 100 blogs in a weekend, because eventually, Google and all these SEO agencies will catch up to that and they'll probably slap you, just like how blogs got slapped.
Exactly. Yep.
So write good quality. I think 1 to 3 posts a week, if you get into that rhythm, answering a specific question that people are asking in AI. And so we'll give you some tools. And I built an AI answer builder, also GPT, that you give it the topic and it gives you the article after an interview.
That's awesome.
Taking that blog article, and also turning it into a YouTube video, because YouTube is also ranking really high is what AI is looking at content-wise. So YouTube, public Facebook groups where you actually comment as an agent, as long as they're public, it's being indexed by AI, right?
I didn't think about
The
that
other
one.
thing
That's a great one.
Yeah, and the other thing people don't realize, they ask for reviews. There's some agents that are listening to this have a review system down pat. What I want you to think about is when a consumer writes a review, don't just ask them to write a review, guide them with some keywords that will help you with AI search. For example, Luke Acree is the best luxury home agent in Bluebell, Pennsylvania. That will trigger the AI if somebody's searching for luxury in Bluebell, right? So it's again, try to, for lack of a better word, steer your client with some keywords. Give them some keywords. Otherwise, you get Luke is amazing. Luke's a good dude. Like those reviews are great, but not as good as a really rich review. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes so much sense. That's gold. Yeah, having these GPTs in these show notes is going to help people so much. I even think about Acree Brothers and I go, yeah, we really need to do a better job getting the bio out there propagated across all of these different sites that allow for bios like Fast Expert and make sure that our keywords are in there. Because I know we have it with Google and stuff like that, but I haven't thought about it in terms of platforms all across the web. So that is such a good tip.
The other one that just one other point I want to double down. Agents are very self-centered in terms of how they promote themselves on bios. Like in Berkshire Hathaway, I look at awards. Every franchise company has awards. Like in your bio, if you write Chairman Circle Diamond, consumers don't care about that. They don't know what it means. AI doesn't know what it means. You don't want to have AI work hard to find out what it means. But reverse that and write that you've helped 60 families this year in Chesapeake, Virginia. Like really write volume or total homes sold as a way to measure yourself when you're sending signals to AI, right? Consumer, think of consumer and what they care about. So just a thought, I think it's important to rewrite with consumer in mind.
No, that's great. So context in mind. It's like if you ever ask an AI something and it gives you the wrong, answer or something that you think is dumb, it's like, well, you didn't give it enough context. The same thing here, like in the bio,
right.
like you've got to wrap that around context. What about on the marketing side? I know we talked a little bit about, search engine or AEO, but like on the like digital marketing, because I know your background there. Where's the biggest? Because I've been obsessed with Replit lately, and so I've been.
He's like chatting me at 4 a.m. in the morning with a new app he's built. He built, just for everybody knowing, he built an app to do the show notes or the questions in the bio for our podcast interview. I actually have it up right here. Literally, it's a Replit app that goes, "Welcome, Rajeev Sajja," and it has interview questions. It has your bio.
That's cool stuff.
Time. But like it dawned on me. I was like, I want a Replit for digital marketing where I can come up with the idea and then I can launch that to Facebook. I can have the email written. It knows my audience. I can launch the leads into our CRM and everything. Like, what have you seen on the digital marketing side that you've been really impressed with?
I think and Replit's awesome. Right? You could get geek out in there for hours, as you guys said. What's interesting to me is I think people that figure out marketing to consumers, marketing has suffered with, doesn't resonate with people because people think of marketing as one to many because they just blast away things that doesn't apply to 80% of your database. Marketing should be one-to-one. It should feel like one-to-one, right? And the way it can feel like one-to-one, I'll give you a good example to just wrap our heads around it. So Starbucks, I was in an AI workshop with Steve Brown and the T360 guys in October, and he shared this example. So Starbucks AI engine is called Deep Brew, okay? Aptly named, I suppose. So, but it has all of the signals. So if you ever use the Starbucks app, which is how most people obviously order and keep track of stuff, it has every signal as to when you purchase things, what do you purchase, your top, all the things you add that make your drink $10 instead of $4, all of the things it has, it knows everything about you. So what they did was, so when Luke goes to Starbucks and he orders the same drink that I order, his promos are different in the app compared to me. Okay, because they're personalizing the marketing And when they did this test across like 3 or 4 states, their sales grew 300% because consumers are more engaged, because what you're promoting is resonating with that person and that person alone. Yeah. So I think we need to take that philosophy and look at all the signals, right? You're sending emails to your database, only 20% open it. Maybe it's not resonating with the other 80. So you almost need to build a persona. And I think this is where AI is, I think we're not there yet, Josh, in terms of ease of agents to use this. When I say agents, real estate agents, can use it unless a broker builds something and offers it to the agent. But I do think with the way AI is going and Replit and Lovable type of stuff, I do think we'll get to the point where you simply give it the database and it'll give you personalized emails and it'll connect it and it will actually send it on your behalf. So it actually creates better marketing, more resonating marketing, digital or email, etc. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, the pain point has always been for us, because we've always wanted and have been striving to, come up with touch points that you can send that, are more personal, right? And they are sending, sending the right thing to the right person at the right time through the right medium. But the pain point that we've always come up against is that we don't have the data on the person in your database like the Facebook has the data on that person, or Google has data on that person, or the Starbucks app has data on you because you're the user in it. And it's like, that's the missing link. The missing link is going, all right, if there's some way, an AI might be able to do this because they'll all have their AIs. And when they connect to your platform as their realtor, maybe that those AIs can now share that data. But it's like getting the likes and interests of your clients. So I've literally always taught the old school methodology of Ford, family, occupation, recreation, dreams, and going, hey, are you calling your clients quarterly? Are you doing client events? And at those events, on those phone calls, your mission is to get that data and put it into your CRM, because then that will trigger, in essence, your marketing. But the problem has always been that there's not a platform out there that will scrape the data on your clients, which is what I've been trying to figure out, is like, how do you get the data on people's clients, their likes and interests? There is demographic info out there. Like we've seen that through data providers like golf handicap scores, whether they're Republican or Democrat, are they a donor? Do they have a pool? Those type of things.
Golf handicap scores?
There's golf, there's golf, stuff in those databases. Yeah, same. But that's where the whole I see there. I would love to pick your brain on, for people listening, because this is a common one, is like, does it matter the AI you choose? Gemini, Grok, Claude, ChatGPT, OpenAI, essentially. Like, do you have any opinion on that? Do you think who's going to win the race? I think people are leaning towards Gemini at this point is going to be the winner.
Well, what's interesting to me is, for most agents listening to this, I don't think it matters which one you pick. But as you get expertise and get more skilled, or AI powered as we call it, you will eventually have a couple of AI tools, because not everything does everything. Give you a simple example. To create images, ChatGPT may be pretty decent, but to edit images and do certain things with images, Gemini Nano Banana Pro is game changing.
Ridiculous. Yeah, ridiculous.
Ridiculous, right? If you want to create infographics from raw data, and if you've not done this, you should go do this. If you're listening to this, Notebook LM is game changing with Gemini. Like, I could put market data from Bright. I just downloaded Bluebell's market data for 60 days. And I don't have to, the columns are pretty self-explanatory. I put it into Notebook LM and it created me a branded infographic telling a story off that market data with a click.
Unbelievable.
Now, could you do this in ChatGPT with a mega prompt? Yes, but Gemini is better. So I do think sometimes you're going to gravitate. Like, if you need to clone your voice, none of them do it. You got to go to 11 Labs, right?
Yep.
So there's certain things that I think over time you're going to have 3 to 5 tools. But to me, pick one and go deep versus trying to do like 10 tools, right? So if you're ChatGPT, here's what I would recommend. Anything you pick, get the paid version. Okay, you cannot try to win with free versions. You're gonna run out of tokens and time, whatever it is. So I would lean towards either ChatGPT. At this point, for the majority of agents listening, I would say if you're still early in your AI journey, double down on ChatGPT. Just because you can create projects, you have custom GPTs.
Yep.
Yes, Gemini has gems, but they don't have a store where I can't build the same GPTs I built in gems and actually make it easily shareable in like a store. So I think today that's the case. But if you're a broker owner, like for example in Bright, one of the first things we are looking at is how do we sort of ground up transform the company. Google is game changing in that regard because it gives you the productivity suite, it gives you Notebook LM and all of the coding stuff. I mean, there's just a ton of stuff there. So it depends on who you are, depends on what you have to work with, but start with ChatGPT is what I would say at this point. Because most agents aren't coders. And if you're coders, you're going to gravitate to Claude Code. So at some point, you're going to diversify a little bit. So I'd say start with ChatGPT for the most part.
Yeah. The paid version is a great point because I just recently a few different people have said, and I don't know if this is true, if the quality actually gets better. Obviously, the limit on your conversations gets better, but they were like, as soon as I upgraded to paid, I understood. They're like, I understood what everyone's hyped about because
once you get into it, you're going to have, I have paid on basically all of them.
All of them, yeah. I don't even
because I want to test between them. But I will give you a real world scenario too, to your point of like Christian Walsh, who's a top producing agent within Berkshire Hathaway. I was out there at Laguna Beach's conference and he was talking to me about, he does a lot of remodels and he had bought a place where it was just a hoarder, like a junk hole. And he sent me the Nano Banana image where he uploaded the junk hole to Nano Banana and said, please, keep the layout, keep everything, but transform this room, clean it, and actually make it look like it could look like. And it was amazing. And obviously, there's different rules in different zones. So you have to make sure you share with the consumer that this is an edited photo and all that stuff, depending on your rules. But it's like incredible at giving a visual to the consumer. And my wife and I are going through this. We're remodeling our kitchen and we have used Nano Banana to give different design options to us. And it is freaky, but it gets even better because I had it lay out the design we want. My wife loves it. This is what we're going to go with. And then I said, please go find these cabinets. Please go find this tile flooring. Please go. And it gave me, it wasn't the exact ones, but it was 3 different options that were extremely close. And I was like, oh my goodness, this is where the world is going to, where it's going to show you. And then you're going to go find this online and buy it for me. And you're going to be able to do it. Crazy.
Yeah. You bring up a very good point. I think if you're listening to this, don't just think AI is just a professional tool. Some of your aha moments or light bulb moments will come personally. Like for me, it was like a year and a half ago when I first started using Perplexity. We were going to Costa Rica. We're like a family of 5, 2 other families, so 13 people. And I unfortunately got the role of coming up with the agenda of what we're going to do. And I said, oh, this is painful. Before AI, it would have been more painful. So I took Perplexity, gave it a mega prompt. We're going to the island of Costa Rica, which hotel we're staying in. We want to do, not bungee jumping, but zip lining, all of the activities. And imagine the food allergies of 13. I gave it the whole thing. And it gave me an agenda that we were able to finalize within the hour with the other parents.
It's crazy.
Like I click a button and share. Like, so think of your, personal things that frustrate you. And I have a ChatGPT project where you can put all your documents. You can do this in Notebook LM also. All my home documents are in one folder in ChatGPT project. So if I ever need to ask it a question, what's my lifetime of my refrigerator? I just ask it and it just gives me all the details. I can just dump everything in there and I can do it from my phone. So it's easy access. So think of ways of improving efficiency and driving productivity personally, and it will give you some light bulb moments that you can bring to professionally.
Okay, so we can't have Rajeev on without asking him the question, what happens when AI becomes physical through robotics? And I know this is a little bit, Terminator-esque, but it's like, how does it not change everything? Now, human adoption will slow it down, right? Because humans won't want the robots and all that stuff, so I buy all that, but I look into the future and go, my gosh, the robot will be showing you the house, the robot, because it's just like this insanely intelligent, kind, responsive, Like, what's your feeling there when you look out 10, 20 years? And this is all just theoretical. I just want to pick your brain on, like, what are you seeing? Because
you're assuming we're going to make it 20 years.
That's the game changer of when the AI becomes physical through robotics and functional. I don't know. Yeah, it becomes so strange of what.
What's interesting is, if you look at the number of jobs we don't have enough people to work in jobs in the US right now. There's 7 million jobs. You go to US labor stats, like check this in like 6 months ago. But that number's pretty much stayed steady, right? 7 million, we can't find people. So I think some robots are going to fill those roles. It's just going to happen. Okay, that's one's going to happen. And we've seen several ChatGPT moments, like November 2022. The next one was like the paid, and then the Claude Code was, I believe,
yes, that has definitely been a moment. Yep.
The next moment will be when you have your neighbor's robot walk into the mailbox to get mail.
Yeah.
All right, that's going to happen. Okay, so now you can get a robot today for $300 a month at rent. Can do some things today. Now that's progressing. It's early, but I'll sign up for a robot to clean like the snow. I mean, Luke, you know this. I mean, we're like I'd sign up for that today. Yeah. So I do think. But there will be a separation in my mind that as much as AI can do it, the question is, as humans, do we want AI to do it? Mm-hmm. So I think showing a house, can AI eventually do it? It will, but do consumers want that? I don't think so. I think they want more human connection. I think if you're an agent listening to this, you need to double down on humanity, right? Double down on the last mile, as I call it. Automate the ordinary. And I say this all the time, automate the ordinary so you can personalize the extraordinary. So you can build those client relationships. You guys talk about it all the time if on your pod. That is where I think the difference is going to be eventually. And the agents that do that more because they have the time now, because you've automated the mundane, so you can do more of the meaningful, will win. But robots are coming. So let's just be nice to these AIs so when they become physical, I think they're going to just walk by us and not do anything to us.
Exactly. If you're listening to this AI, we love you. Thank you. No.
If I could ask you, exactly. For the agents out there that are listening to this and feeling a little maybe overwhelmed, the next 30 days, how do they start to, what could they practically begin to do to start gaining some of the skills that we've talked about to implement AI into their business?
It's a great question, Josh. I think everybody could use a 30-day challenge. Fun challenge, right? Take 15 minutes a day, whatever time you can devote to it. If it's 30, it's 30. If it's 50, but at least 15 minutes. Do something with AI every day that you've not done. Just talk to it. Like to Josh's point, maybe you've never used the voice. Maybe you talk one day. Next day, you go to Suno and create a song. And that was an aha moment for me, and so do something new every day for 30 days. And I think you'll find a few light bulb moments that I think will take you and go beyond in 2026.
Yeah. Love it. Thanks, Rajeev. Before we close out here, let people know how they can connect with you, follow your journey.
There's very few Sajjas on LinkedIn. The only other Sajja is my brother that you can find probably. So just search Rajeev Sajja. We'll put a link in the show notes for all the social handles, podcast, email, newsletter, things like that. But just Google me,
Love it.
And you'll find me.
We will have that as well as all of the links that you talked about, some of those custom GPT links in the show notes of this video as well. So you can get that wherever you're listening, or you can go to staypaidpodcast.com to get all of those show notes. If you enjoyed this episode and want to show your support, head on over to YouTube. Make sure you're following Reminder Media. Give this video a thumbs up. And if you want to get hold of me or Luke, you can email us at podcast@remindermedia.com and follow us on Instagram. We are at Stay Paid Podcast. Make sure to listen to Rajeev's podcast as well. Real Estate AI Flash. For this episode of Stay Paid, I'm Josh Dyke.
And I'm Luke Aker. Rajeev, man, we got to have you back, especially because AI is changing like every 2 weeks.
Regular,
yeah, you got to become the most interviewed guest here at Stay Paid because
I'm here, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's awesome having you on. So many great tips. My action item for people, I mean, you heard the 30-day challenge. You need to take action on that. I would say start with your bio. Like, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to call Steven from Acre Brothers right after this and say, hey, man, we got to get the bio propagated across all of our different platforms. We know we have it out there, but we have not made it AI optimized so to be in the search. So we need to do that. That's my action item for all of you. Remember, the difference between top producers and mediocre producers in every business is top producers take action. So take action on that today.